There are so many different class changes in Classic Season of Discovery, and to be honest, you should definitely be looking forward to most of them, especially if you would like to play Classic in another way. I've added a timeline so you can easily skip to the class that you're looking for. And if you're interested in more Classic Season of Discovery content in the future, then I would also highly recommend you to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, enjoy this video. The priest will be able to choose penance. This will launch a volley of holy light towards the target, either healing if it's a friendly player or dealing damage if it's an enemy. Mindseer is where you target an enemy, and all enemies within 10 yards will be hit with AoE damage every second for 5 seconds. So this you will be able to channel over and over whenever there's a lot of nearby enemies, so you can finally cleave or well do AoE damage as a priest. Circle of Healing is an AoE heal that allows the priest to, for example, cast it on this warrior, and all party members within 15 yards will be healed as well. Shadow Word Death is an instant attack that deals a high amount of shadow damage. However, if the player or the target is not killed by Shadow Word Death, then the priest will also take the exact amount of damage as well. However, if you manage to kill the target with the spell, then the priest won't take any damage. Prayer of Mending is an instant cast. In this case, I cast it on myself, and the next time I take damage, I'll also be healed, and then the Prayer of Mending will jump to the next party member, in this case the warrior. But before the next healing will kick in, then the warrior will also need to take damage, and then the Prayer of Mending will once again jump to another party member. It can do this all the way up to 5 times. Power with Barrier is a big barrier you can summon, and all players inside will also reduce their damage taken by 25% for 10 seconds. At the same time, your spell casting will also not be delayed by damage. On top of this, you also get the possibility to summon 3 copies of yourself. These copies will attack your current target. There's also 5 other runes you can choose, and it's the following right here. Sadly, I can't really show them in action right now. But the most important thing, or well, what I'm really looking forward to, is Shared Pain. Your Shadow Word Pain will now also afflict up to 2 additional nearby targets within 15 yards. Paladins finally get more melee attacks. Divine Storm, which is an AoE attack that also heals the Paladin and up to 3 party or raid members for 25% of the total damage caused. And to spice it up even further, Crusader Strike, which is an instant attack that causes 75% weapon damage and also regenerates 2% of your maximum mana. Raiding as a protection paladin will finally be a reality. Avenger Shield allows you to cast this instant attack that hits up to 3 enemies, and it will also daze them. The main reason why you can tank as a paladin is because of Hand of Reckoning, an instant attack that taunts the enemy, and if you improve this ability, then you also gain mana whenever you're healed, and you also reduce your damage taken while you're below 35% health. Even Holy Paladins also get an improvement with the rune Beacon of Light. This you can either place on yourself or a party or a raid member, and whenever you heal another target that is not affected by Beacon of Light, then the player affected by this buff will also receive 100% of the amount healed. And if you like to raid, then Divine Sacrifice will definitely also be useful, as you can use this together with your bubble to reduce a lot of damage taken by your party or raid members. Your Exorcism can now also be casted at any target. It no longer needs to be an undead or a demon. And what's even more amazing is that you also get an interrupt spell with Rebuke. So as a paladin, you're simply becoming so much more efficient in raiding, PvP, or just whatever you would like to do. There were also a couple of runes I sadly couldn't show you. One of these will improve you as a tank, another one allow you to dispel fear and sleep effects on nearby party members. There's even a buff that increases your strength and agility, and this affects all party members within 30 yards as well, and another seal of Martyrdom. As a Shaman, you can place Healing Rain that lasts for 20 seconds. All party members in the circle will also be healed as long as they're inside. Earth Shield can either be placed on yourself or a party or raid member, and the next time that target takes damage, it will also heal. This has 3 charges, but there's actually no cooldown on the spell, it just lasts for 10 minutes. So whenever the buff goes off, you can just place a new one. Raiding as an enhancement shaman will finally be possible, as you can now dual wield and also increase your chance to hit when you dual wield. On top of this, you also get Lava Lash, another instant attack you can combine together with your Storm Strike. And don't worry, if you ever go out of mana, then you just use your Shamanistic Rage to regenerate mana every second for 15 seconds. Or you could just use your Water Shield to regen 1% mana every 5 seconds, and whenever you take damage with the shield, then you will also restore 4% of your maximum mana. Like it wasn't enough, then playing as an elemental shaman will definitely also be possible with the new spell Lava Burst. And what's also quite amazing is that you can tank as a shaman, even in raids with the new rune Way of Earth. This will increase your threat generation when you use Rock Bitter Weapon, increase your health, reduce your damage taken, and also make you immune to melee crit in PvE. And your Earth Shock will even taunt the target as well. So in Season of Discovery, I gotta admit that Shaman has to be quite tempting to play, as you can cover every single role in the game. As a mage, you can cast Living Bomb on a target, and this will deal fire damage over 12 seconds. After 12 seconds, or if the target is dispelled, then it will also explode and deal fire damage to itself and all nearby enemies within 10 yards. Quite amazing for AoE damage. If you wish to play as Arcane, then it's definitely also a possibility with Arcane Blast. This will deal Arcane damage, and every time you cast it, you also increase your Arcane spell damage by 15%. This stacks up to 4 times, but it also increases the mana cost of your Arcane Blast by 175% every time. We also get an instant spell, Ice Lance. Whenever you do this attack against a frozen target, then it also deals triple damage. Or if you like to just single target, then you could pick Icy Veins to increase your casting speed by 20%. This is especially useful together with the Troll Racial that also increase your casting speed. And if you choose Fingers of Frost, then every time you cast a spell that grants a chill effect, then there's also a 15% chance that your next 2 spells will act like the target were frozen. There are sadly a couple of runes I can't show you. Living Flame is where you spawn this flame elemental that moves towards the target, and as it's moving towards the target, it will also leave a trail of Spellfire. This Spellfire will deal damage to all nearby enemies in the flame. But in my opinion, the most amazing change has to be that you can now also function as a great healer with the rune regeneration and mass regeneration. All these mage changes will make the class so much different compared to original classic, where you would mainly just be spamming Frostbolt or Fireball. As a druid, you still have your Moonfire ability, but now you can also choose to get Sunfire. These you can stack, and on top of this, you can also cast Sunfire in Bear, Dire Bear, and even Cat form. As a tank, you can now also apply a bleed effect to the target, and this can stack up to 5 times. The higher amount of stacks, the higher amount of bleed damage you will also do. And every time you apply a new stack, you will also generate a high amount of threat. So being able to tank as a druid will definitely be a lot easier. There's also going to be many other reasons, and these I'll talk about later. Raiding as a feral cat might also be a possibility with the new spell Mangle. This deals instant damage, but also leaves a debuff on the target for 1 minute. While this debuff is active, you do 30% more damage with your bleed effects and threat. Mangle also generates combo points, and these you can use on yet another spell, Savage War. When you activate this, it will have a duration, and depending on the amount of combo points, then it will also extend the duration. Wild Growth is a new healing spell that you can use to heal many nearby party members. If I place this on top of myself, then all party members within 15 yards will also be healed for the same amount over 7 seconds. So what I usually do is to cast this, as most of my party members is also about to take a lot of AoE damage. And whenever a single target heal, then I use the new rune Life Bloom. This will leave a small heal over time on the target, but you can stack this up to 3 times. And the moment you reach 3 stacks, then you just apply a new one, as the old one is about to run out, and that way you can keep your 3 stacks. Skull Bash is another way to charge an enemy. This can be used within 13 yards of the target, and if the target is casting, then it will also interrupt and prevent any spells in that school from being casted for the next 2 seconds. Another range spell you can also choose is Star Search, and this will cause arcane damage to the target. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, then you can definitely tank as a feral druid in raids. This is because of the new rune, Survival of the Fittest. This will reduce your chance to be melee crit by 6%, enough for you to never be crit when you do different raid encounters. On top of this, you also get reduced damage taken by 10% and another 10% if you're on bear or dire bear form. I usually never play Warlock, but I gotta admit it's quite tempting in classic Season of Discovery. You can transform yourself into a demon where you increase your armor by 500% and reduce your chance to be crit by 6%. When you combine this together with your Curse of Recklessness that now functions as a taunt, then you'll definitely be able to tank very well. Your Rain of Fire will now also leave a lake of fire on the ground. All the enemies in the lake will take 40% increased fire damage by you and your pet for 15 seconds. Would you like to be able to spell cleave multiple targets at the same time? No worries. Shadowbolt Volley will allow your Shadowbolt to strike up to 5 targets at the same time. It will reduce the shadow damage that you do with each bolt, but still an amazing way to start cleaving. Chaos Bolt will hit the target for a high amount of fire damage. It will always hit, it can never be resisted, and on top of this, it will also pierce through absorption effects. So if another player has a power with shield effect on them, then you'll just pierce through this absorption effect and still deal the damage. Taunt is another single target damage you can choose. This will deal damage on impact and also increase the shadow damage you do with your damage over time effects by 20%. All the damage you do with the spell, but also while the debuff is active, will heal you when the debuff ends or if it's being dispelled. There's also some runes that provide passives, so not really new spells that you have to activate or cast. No, instead it will just improve some of your other abilities, or for example increase your melee or spell critical strike chance. You can also learn Incinerate. When you successfully cast this, it will also increase the fire damage that you do to the target by 25% for 15 seconds. As a hunter, there's now a rune that allows you to play without a pet. By doing this, you'll also increase the damage that you do by 25%. You can also learn Kill Command, so if you decide to play with a pet, then you can command your pet to kill. This will increase the damage that your pet do with special abilities by 60% for 30 seconds, and each special attack done by the pet will reduce the damage bonus by 20%. So this buff will last for the next 3 special attacks. Explosive Shot will deal instant damage and continue to explode for the next 2 seconds. This is also an ability that shares cooldown with your Arcane Shot. However, if you prefer to deal a high amount of instant damage, then you could choose Chimera Shot. This will also refresh the current sting on your target and even trigger an effect if you have Serpent Sting, Viper Sting or Scorpion Sting on the target. And these are the passive runes you can choose, and like I mentioned, if you have Lone Wolf, then you will increase the damage that you do with all your attacks by 25% as long as you have no active pet. And I gotta admit, Serpent Spread sounds quite amazing. Multi-Shot will now also apply Serpent Sting to all the targets it hit for 6 seconds. This is definitely useful for cleaving as a hunter. Just remember to pay attention to your multi-shot so you don't accidentally pull more enemies than you're supposed to. And it seems like we're also supposed to be able to play as a melee hunter with the new flanking strike. Afterward, our Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike will deal more damage and it stacks, and our Raptor Strike also has a chance to reset the cooldown of this new rune. And when there's even yet another rune that also allows the hunter to do cleave damage in melee, then I guess it's safe to say that hunters are also supposed to be able to play as a melee character in Season of Discovery. One class that will definitely still be able to play as a melee DPS is the Rogue, and with Mutilate you can do an attack that deals instant damage with both weapons. When we use this, we are also awarded 2 combo points, so we will replace this with our Sinister Strike, and this will most likely make you able to play as other specializations in PvE, This could for example be Assassination, as we now also get a new finishing move, Venom, that increases the damage that you do as long as you have instant and deadly poisons applied to your weapons. To apply our poisons even easier, we also get Shift, which is an instant attack that has a 100% chance to apply the poison you have on your offhand weapon. It also awards 1 combo point, so it's not going to be too bad of a move. Those of you that like to PvP, Shadow Strike might be your new favorite ability. It will teleport you behind the target and strike the enemy for 150% weapon damage. Just remember, you gotta be stealthed when you use this ability, so what I would recommend you to do is to make a macro where you instantly turn into stealth and use Shadow Strike at the same time. There's a lot more abilities you can unlock with different runes. It could be Saber Slash, that deals 130% weapon damage and causes the target to bleed, and this you can stack up to 3 times. It could also be Quick Draw, which is a range attack the rogue can use to reduce the target's movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. And as I'm talking about range attacks, then Between the Eyes is a finish move you can choose where you fire your gun, it stuns the target and also deals damage. What if I told you rogues will also be able to tank? With this ability, you will strike the enemy and increase your parry chance by 10%. And as you're generating combo points, you can use these with a new finishing move, Blade Dance. This can increase your parry chance from 6 to 10%. It all depends on the amount of combo points you use. So now you might be wondering, how does this make you able to tank? Well, if you get another rune, just a flesh wound, then you will reduce your physical damage taken while your Blade Dance is active by 20%. You also reduce your chance to be crit by 6%, so yeah, you will be immune to crit attacks in raids. And you even get a new ability which is called Tease. This will work as a taunt ability, so rogues can definitely tank in raids. As a warrior, you can now heal yourself with Victory Rush. Whenever you kill an enemy, you have a 20 seconds window where you can use your Victory Rush. This causes a high amount of damage and heal you for 10% of your maximum health. This also results in you spending a lot less time eating or using bandages to recover and be ready for another fight. Quick Strike is an instant melee attack with your two-hand weapon. The damage it deals is quite moderate, it won't do too much damage, but also not be too bad at all. Most of the runes you can unlock as a warrior won't apply any new abilities to your action bar. Instead, it will definitely do some changes to your already known abilities. So this is definitely a setback compared to all the other classes that unlock so many new abilities that allow them to do a lot of other things. But then again, maybe it's also about time that warriors won't be the dominating class in Classic. So what abilities are you looking forward to in Classic Season of Discovery, and what class do you plan to main? Let me know this in a comment below the video. And if you're interested in more of this kind of content, then make sure to subscribe, because soon I'll be publishing a lot more content.